shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. Gas, no brakes, I'ma take mine. My team looking like we got 6 rings. Back up all the shit, I'm talking all big things. My team looking like we got 6 rings. Back up all the shit, talking all big things. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. Gas, no brakes.
We're back at Johnson Haygood Stadium and another edition of the Joe Call Show. Coach, welcome back, and unfortunately it's after your first defeat as head coach of the Land Sharks, but man, what a close overtime ball game you had against Gray Collegiate.
Yeah, it was. It was a we talked about it before, and it lived up to the hype. Two rivals, kind of going at it back and forth, and it was one of those games. If you saw it, the score, indicated that it was back and forth. And we played a little bit too much catch up. We kind of seemed like we were a little bit behind, but kind of chasing points, but. It was certainly an exciting game to watch, and I think it's a good segue to the playoffs. What kind of games we're going to have in the playoffs?
Well, there's some questions I want to ask you about that game because it was such a good one and so many interesting plays that could have caused it to go the other way. But before we get there, I know 2 of our players were injured in that game. Could you give us just an update on Matt Brown and also Blaine Throckmorton?
Yeah, you never like. All injuries are bad, but when one can kind of end somebody's season, that's where they really become, just heartbreaking for the kids. And Blaine, a non-contact injury, hurt his knee. He's been going to the doctors, getting MRIs, and getting that knee checked out. And they're not real sure if he's going to have surgery or not, but looks to be like his season's over. And he's been here at practice, so he still shows up to the meetings. He's still part of the. Every time we get together as a team, so it's good encouragement for the players. And he's put a lot of time into this entire program over his 4 years. So he was upset, but he's been upbeat about it, so which is good. His good positive attitude towards his teammates and kind of keeping them going and encouraging them as well. And then Matt Brown took a tough hit. It's almost like being in a car wreck, like a bad car wreck, and it was an illegal hit, but it's one that. Was penalized properly. It was penalized on the field, but a couple other things could have happened there. But he's, we kind of hoped and prayed for the best. We thought maybe there was some liver damage there, maybe some rib damage or something, but luckily not, just some bruising. Is kind of the best way to put it. I'm talking to Matt about it. Is just like being in a bad car wreck. So he's real sore, but he's been coming around. He's been in practice and kind of being around the team. So. Hopefully, I know he's just real sore right now. So we continue in the playoffs, and he'll be cleared, and hopefully he can rejoin us.
Good news there, Coach. Let's talk a little bit about the game. There were several critical penalties, 2 of which resulted in touchdowns for Oceanside being called back by the referees. One of those was on a block in the back, and the other one was a penalty that the quarterback Garrison had crossed the line of scrimmage before he threw the ball. It certainly didn't look to me like Garrison was across that line of scrimmage.
Yeah, those and really those become the most noticeable when they're on touchdown plays. And we have an officiating crew here in South Carolina that we can send film to if we have any disputes on film. Not that they can change the call after the fact, nothing like that, but they can certainly look at it and tell, and they'll be honest with you and tell you if they made a mistake, and they use it as a teaching tool. But Garrison got called for being across the line of scrimmage, and on the film, of course, we're able to slow it down. Real time is a lot harder to tell, but when you slow it down, he was behind the line, so that's unfortunate. But that kind of stuff happens in football games. And then we had a block in the back that was, our guy was making a great block, and the defender turned on him, and when the referee saw him, it looked like he was blocking him in the back, and it gets called back. So that kind of stuff happens, but it was really that kind of night, for us, to where, we were just a little bit off here and there, and it's those little 1 or 2 plays like that kind of show up in the game. And then, kind of going back to Matt, talking about it, it being a legal, hit, there are a lot of little factors there that could have been called that were maybe missed, whether it was a touchback, stuff like that. But being a referee is a tough job, and they're having to make decisions, quick decisions. But it was nice to be able to, like, when we can take the film and highlight those certain plays and send them to the officials, and they respond with you. And all 4 occasions, I get a lot of questions about from parents and fans is like, what can be done to the officials? Well, they can't obviously change a call, and but they can certainly use those situations to kind of learn and kind of help themselves be better officials in the future.
One other call we didn't talk about before the show, but it was a pass interference that was called on us, and it sure looked to me like offensive pass interference, at least when I was watching it real time. What's your assessment of that?
Right, and most of the time I'll give not really give the referee a benefit of a doubt when there's 2 flags. But my question was when I went on the field, Ron Shawver had a defensive pass interference, which was to us clearly offensive push off. And the referee that was in position to make the call, he called defensive pass interference. And so my question to them was, to the white hat, I said, what was the other flag? I said, what did the other referee see? And when he said defensive pass interference, my argument was pretty much out. But again, that was one we sent in, and looking at it on the film, they admitted their mistake. It was an offensive push-off. The referee, both of them said they were out of position and didn't see the offensive push-off. All they saw was our defensive guy grabbing. But it's one of those things that happens, and hopefully they'll learn from it. And we'll be in a little bit better. As a coach, I'm going to say we'll be in a little bit better position to make a better play, so it doesn't come down to those referee decisions.
Well, Gray Collegiate has the Pinnacle Trophy, but it's got a little bit of a stain on it this year.
That's all right. Hey, that's why we play every year, so we'll have our shot to get it back next year.
And there's no question they're a heck of a good football team. Really good for your team to have that kind of a game after so many blowouts over the course of the season to get you ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, when our original schedule way back when,
right.
We had a lot of tough teams, non-region, your Goose Creeks, your Bufords going out of state playing, the team out of Atlanta and stuff like that. And you play those bigger games to help prepare you for the tough games that come, like really later in the season when it comes down, to like what we were saying, 1 or 2 plays, because until you're in those situations, not games that are 40 or 50 point differences, but it's winning those 1-score games when you got to make be willing to make the play that's going to give your team the advantage, and those games prepare for the playoffs, because every game in the playoffs is going to be like that.
And your team really did show a lot of character. I mean, you came back from behind just
right.
over and over again. You made that critical 2-point conversion you needed to tie the ball game. So you didn't look like a team, that wasn't ready for that close game against a good team.
Yeah, and so many, when it gets to the end of those games, it's 1 or 2 plays that kind of show up to say, well, if we would have kicked a field goal, or if we would have made this stop. But it's really, like you said, go back to, if we hadn't got that 2-point conversion, or if we hadn't, kept fighting to make those that comeback, we wouldn't have been in that situation. So super proud of our guys for showing that fight. And that just goes to all their training, conditioning. They're not going to stop. They're not going to quit and give up on each other, man. They believe in each other and got each other's back, and they're going to go all the way to the end.
You really looked like a different team on sorry, my watch was ringing. You looked like a different team on offense, and I got to say, Garrison Kepley, what a great game he had at quarterback.
Yeah, he can continue. He studies film extremely well, and as a quarterback, we can watch film with them as coaches, but it's what they do like on their own, like when they're at home, like after they do their homework and do their studies. And I know him and his dad sit down and they study film. They just don't watch film, they study film, and it really shows up in the games. And what you're seeing from Garrison, game to game to game, and getting better and better and better, and they're showing up on the field. He's getting the ball to the right guys, and those guys are he's gaining confidence in them, and they're gaining confidence in him. And so kind of with the shortened season, really, games 6 and 7, you're mid-season, so you get a mid-season form to the playoffs, and we're seeing him and these other offensive skill guys hit their stride in the right time going into the playoffs.
Well, Coach, let's hope that the offense can carry that over into this game against Aynor that's coming up, and let's hope that the defense will buckle down and stop the running offenses that I expect you're going to see on Friday night.
Yeah, Aynor's a completely different team than we've seen, really. I mean, than anybody's really seen, unless you've actually seen Aynor play. Their offense is kind of what we're talking about. Is they put all 11 guys, from me to you. They get foot to foot on the offensive line. They're real physical. They're flat back. They fire off the football, and they're okay with 3 yards at a time. They're not trying to throw it to receivers. They're not trying to throw it down the field. They're trying to get 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, and then they go for it on 4th down if they have to, And they will. They'll go for it on any spot of the field on 4th down, trying to get the first down, just really trying to run the clock, maximize the time that they have the ball. You know, and against Dillon, the number 1 team in 3A right now, they had the ball for a 25-play drive and had it over 10 minutes. You know, so they're capable of doing that. But again, you know, it's a great, you know, it's a huge challenge for our defense. But our guys have, you know, they can accept a challenge like this. You know, they eat this kind of stuff up. You know, and this is what they prepare for and train for. So they're excited for this challenge, something different to look at. But you know, basically what it comes down to, I mean, really when you peel it all back, it's, you know, their front guys versus our front guys, and I'll take our front guys all day and every day. You know, to go head to head with them, nose to nose with them. So it's one of those nose to nose kind of slobber knocking games, you know, into trenches games. So if you're an offensive line fan, you know, you like good strong running games and good strong defense, this is a game for you because it's going to be all played within a little circle, a little square about this big.
It should be a real test for Coach Evan Gates, the strength coach, and the conditioning of your ball team. Your defense, especially, is probably going to spend a lot of time on the field.
Right, you know, and that's something, you know, to your point there. What we've had to emphasize on offense is we can't go 3 and out. We can't allow them to have 20, 25 play drives because our defense will be on the field all night, and that'll be a good determination as you're watching the game to where, you know, kind of how the game's flowing. You know, are we making first downs on offense? Because if we're not, you know, we're going to put our defense in a bad situation, and you know, so it's really one of your best defenses is your offense this week. You know, so you got to make first downs and you got to be productive, and you know, you want to end. You know, it's that old football saying, you want to end every drive with a kick. You know, whether that's an extra point, a field goal, or sometimes even a punt to pin them deep. You know, so you know, we've really been, you know, and that's what's improved with our offense is our execution to where we're you know, executing better, making those first downs. So you know, I'm very confident in our guys, you know, with the way we've played against Gray, even though we didn't come out in the end how we wanted to, but through their preparation during a bye week and then preparation this week for the game, that, you know, they're locked and loaded. They're focused on what they have to do.
And Coach, how do you assess the matchup of our offense against their defense?
Right, you know, a lot of their guys that play on their offense turn around and play on their defense.
Why don't we take a commercial break here? The rain's
We're getting the rain here.
We're going to move and finish up. Okay, we're back after a rain delay, and we're finishing up. You were talking about the matchup of our offense against Ayner's defense.
Right, and a lot of their guys play both ways. You know, you can, you know, whether if it's a smaller school, you know, they definitely take their best players, play them on both sides of the ball. So a lot of guys that you see play offense will turn right around and play defense, and that's a tribute to their condition and how they practice, because that's not easy to do, especially when you play a physical offense like they do. So you know, I feel like we match up well with them. You know, our interior line, you know, I feel like matches up with anybody's front seven, and it really comes down to, you know, some of the things we were working on you know, earlier in the season that we had talked about, you know, being able to throw and catch the ball and kind of have, you know, good timing on our routes, and you know, like we said, we've been able to accomplish that, you know, as we've gone through the season. Our time has gotten better, our execution gotten better, and you know, it's really, we're seeing practice show up on the games, and that's you know, what you want to see as a coach is really take it from, you know, we're having great sessions at practice, now we're having great sessions on the game on Friday, and that's you know, like we talked about with Garrison and the wide receivers, and with Vaughn coming out the backfield catching the ball, that's starting to show up on Friday nights.
Coach, I guess you're going to have some JV players who'll be able to suit up, maybe contribute a little bit.
Right. You know, we didn't get enough. You know, we only had 3 JV games, and you know, that was just so tough for those guys that have put in so much time. And you know, we had to go back. You know, weather forced us to. The Gray game ended up getting canceled for JV, and that was a decision that, you know, football coaches don't mind playing in the rain. You play in weather conditions is part of it, unless it's lightning. But when it becomes unsafe for travel, you know, and other people start making, you know, over the top of you, start making those decisions, and you know, what's best for the kid, and you know, putting them on in buses traveling up the road. You know, it just wasn't the conditions weren't safe enough for our kids and our coaches and some of our parents to be traveling on the road. So anyway, I said a lot here, but you know, it's unfortunate they only got to play 3 games. But luckily, now that we're in the playoffs, a lot of those guys can dress for the varsity games, and the extra practice time. A lot of those guys have earned starting spots on our special teams, have stepped right in, and that's just going to help prepare our team, our program for the future going forward. You know, having those guys not only had those JV reps, but now they're getting meaningful varsity reps in live action, which normally they wouldn't have gotten if we'd have had like a normal JV season.
And Coach, we talked earlier about those injuries to Matt Brown and to Blaine Throckmorton. I know a lot of people have wondered, why don't we have an ambulance on site for these football games? And I know you wanted to take a minute to address that.
Yeah, it's I had a lot of parents have reached out to us about that, and certainly so. As a parent myself, if I saw a child out there hurt who needed an ambulance, I mean, you'd want to as quick a care as you could possibly get. And it's just one thing, like with Charleston County. It's a decision they made with the COVID number, COVID and lack of being able to have EMS and ambulance on site and stuff like that. So there are a lot more factors than just us deciding not to have an ambulance. And that was kind of one thing I wanted to let our parents know, our fans know. It's something that we're going all the way back to previous games where we were at North Charleston. They had a player get injured and there was an ambulance on site, and we've had a game here against Battery Creek where one of their players got injured and one of our players. So it's certainly something that if we were allowed to have and we could, we would. It's not a money issue. It's not we just don't want to. It's it kind of goes along with all the CDC rules and Charleston County, how they're doing things. So I appreciate you letting me kind of explain that.
Sure.
And got a lot of questions.
Speaking of COVID, with the numbers going up all over the country, I know people are curious about, do you think we're going to make it through the playoffs?
Yeah, our entire state's done a really good job, I think. We just got a letter from the commissioner of the high school league, Mr. Singleton, talking about it's been a struggle, but everybody's done such a good job of adapting and doing what's necessary and following the protocols. And a lot of fans, whether if it's a football game or volleyball game or even like today we had signing day at the school, still get a little frustrated with us reminding them to wear their mask, but sanitizing your hands and wearing a mask and remain socially distant and all that. It has worked and has enabled us to get to this point in the season. And looking back on it, I'm glad we had our senior night when we did, because we never thought that there was a lot of thought we might not even get to this point. Now that we're here in the playoffs, the other fall sports are finishing up, so I expect us to be able to finish up as well, because I know we'll continue to follow the guidelines and socially distance and do what we're supposed to do. And being right here at Johnson-Haygood for all of our playoff games, we have plenty of space plenty of room to space out, and if fans aren't comfortable enough that they have a live feed, they can watch us play, if they're more comfortable doing that.
Well, we are looking forward to it. Friday night, first game of the playoffs. Last year, Oceanside made it to the lower state championship and lost to Barnwell. Let's see how far we can go this week. Hopefully, we'll be back next week to talk about a victory over Aynor and what lies ahead. And as Coach said, don't forget, the game will be at 7:30.
7:30.
Here at Johnson-Haygood Stadium Friday night, and we'll also have it on live feed. And so if you can't be here, be sure to join us then.
I'm a shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. Gas, no brakes, I'ma take mine. My team looking like we got 6 rings. Back up all the shit, I'm talking all big things. My team looking like we got 6 rings. Back up all the shit, talking all big things. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. I'm a shark, bite like a great white. Gas, no brakes.